Welcome to the Tangent, gentlemen, where each week Scott and I start with a topic from the previous episode, and then we see where that conversation takes us. Along the way, a question, idea, or disagreement sparks a tangent, and that tangent becomes next week's discussion. All right, Scott, you ready to hit on social media algorithms?
Yes, I'm showing up largely ignorant, but we'll see where this goes.
Well, we both probably are. I guess, as we're at I think we both are at the old end of Gen X, right? Are you Gen X or are you a boomer?
I am Gen X by a year, officially.
Okay. All right.
I feel like I'm a boomer because I'm the youngest of five, so I always got they just felt like I was raised in a house full of boomers, so I kind of, all my pop culture is
all your siblings are boomers?
All my siblings are boomers, boomers, and so all my TV shows were greatly influenced by them. So my musical interest. It's a funny story. I tell, my two older brothers were huge Beatles fans, and I always preferred the Rolling Stones, but I was never allowed to say that out loud without fear of serious physical retaliation.
What is Gen X is 65, right?
Yeah.
All right, because I'm 67.
Yeah, I was born in 65, so I'm right at the...
Oh, okay. Well, you're... Right we can call you half boomer.
Oh, trust me, a lot of people call me boomer all the time, and I probably own it more than I don't, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe we start with the term algorithm. I don't know if, I don't know how many people are not. I think everybody's probably familiar with it by now, but basically, I guess in simplest terms, we're just talking about a formula or rules used to decide on what's worth watching, right?
Yeah, I mean, as it relates here, I mean, it's kind of we know it from math training. It's a process, a pattern where you look for certain criteria or certain steps, and then once you do that, then you proceed forward. So, I guess as it relates to this context, I guess they're looking. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what we're going to talk about is, are they looking for something? Are they detecting something that's there? Where are you at on that? Do you think is it more active or more passive, the algorithm? You know what I mean?
I think it's active, but I think the reason the impact is so big is that it's so personalized.
Yeah.
So my understanding anyway, and I don't know, there might be people that tell us that we're way off, but my understanding within social media is just about engagement. How do we keep every person on our platform longer and come back and visit more often? And how do we consistently do that? And it's all by making recommendations based on previous viewings.
Yeah. One of the things that I came across, I was really surprised to see that it's not as targeted. This was talking about, I think it was specifically YouTube is the one thing I was reading about. It's not as targeted as I thought it was. Like a lot of it is, they'll look at me and they'll say, okay, here's a guy who's 60, watches whatever sports gambling videos and watchmaking and barbecue videos. He might be interested in this. So I get some of that, even though I've never watched videos related to that, but I get tagged, I get offered that. And I thought that was very interesting. That it's kind of, at times it's kind of a net just to see what you might be interested in.
Yeah, but also I wonder if that's because, I don't know if this is the right term, but you're still in the experiment stage. You're not somebody that is strolling for 3 to 4 hours a day, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, right. No, I'm maybe an hour.
So they're still getting those experiments out on you because, my understanding is that everything's being watched. How as you're scrolling, how soon do you scroll past something? How long do you stick on certain things? How often do you like certain things? What is it that you comment on? And the more of these little mini experiments they get on you, it's going to become more and more. I think that's when it's going to start becoming more and more targeted. And I think that's where you get into some of the I would call them problems that you see with echo chambers and just people living in this certain reality is just self-generated.
Yeah. See, I guess I'm also a little bit, I don't know, cantankerous, sort of. I will just try to mess with the algorithm. Like, they'll give me I don't know, I can't think of something, they'll give me something, I don't know why, I guess because of age or whatever, I'll get something about, river cruises, which I don't really have any great interest in going on a river cruise. No, I'm not hating on river cruises, but I'll click on it just to see, okay, I have zero interest in doing that, but that's what they're trying to tell me I should like, or they think I might like. But I guess that's to your point about I'm still in the experience, I'm still in the defining state. They're trying to define me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of like intentional engagement, I guess. It's it makes me think. I think what doesn't happen with algorithms, they don't have any. They're not trying to drive anything specifically, other than any beliefs or anything like that. It's all just, what can I do to keep this person on my platform the longest? And so what I think you're missing is I think about my papaw that's been gone for a long time. He really, it was really important to him that you always listen to and read people that don't believe the things you believe.
Mm-hmm.
He thought that was important. Well, if social media is your primary means of what you're learning, you never get that side of it. You're only getting constant
validation.
Constant validation and affirmations of what you already believe. And it just keeps getting repeated and repeated in an endless loop. I've heard it called echo chambers a lot. And it just keeps getting repeated, and.
So one of the things I was trying to find a parallel, because I try to, even though I'm a boomer, sort of, I try to be very cognizant and not fall into this trap of, well, in my day, blah blah blah, or it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And I think back about, you remember when, it seemed like it was you're a little bit younger than me, but like in the early 70s is when people started talking about, advertisements have all these subliminal messages.
Yeah.
They put these, you're watching you're at the movies and there's these, 1.5 second frames of popcorn or snacks or whatever to just to convince you, to plant the seed of you should go buy popcorn or you should do this or that. And I guess there's part of me that wonders, is this any more sinister than that? I mean, it's more effective, I would argue, I guess. But is it is it any different than what marketers have always done? Try to convince the consumer, we have what you want and this is it? Or does the consumer drive, this is what I want? You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's the distinction between the two.
I'm sitting here, I think that might be a different piece of this, because you still have advertisers in social media. You watch a YouTube video and advertisements are popping up.
Right.
And they're trying to do what you just described. They're trying to get you to buy their product. Right. And I think they try to fit it more to the audience that views that video or that post or whatever it might be. And and I'm probably most familiar with YouTube. You know, I've had YouTube channels with Top Hill Recording Podcast, and now I work with my daughter and her YouTube channel, The Dollar House and Tia Weston, and so I've kind of seen in YouTube there's things that you intentionally try to do, like there's A/B testing. There's a video has a thumbnail. That little picture you see.
What did you call it? What kind of testing?
A/B testing.
Okay.
And so your thumbnail, you can set your video up, and you can run a thumbnail A and you can run a thumbnail B, and then you put that out there, and you get what's called a click rate, and that's how many people, what percentage of people that see your thumbnail click on it and watch it. And then you see at the end of 8 hours or the first day or whatever, okay, thumbnail A is performing better than thumbnail B. So you choose thumbnail A to be your thumbnail for that video. Okay. Because there's something about that video that has made people click on it more. And then after people click on it, you've got retention rate. These are all analytics that YouTube creators get. So you get a retention rate that tells you, on average, people that clicked on this video watched 30% of it or watched 70% of it. And you get information through the video that tells you, okay, here's a dip in engagement. This is where a lot of people clicked out. And as these editors, as these YouTube creators are making these videos, they're trying to learn what's happening on these dips and what's happening on these high interest areas in these videos, and trying to replicate that more and more often.
Wow. Which again, like I think back to like TV in the 50s. Like they didn't have the same metrics, but they were doing the same thing. Ed Sullivan told you to buy a Mercury, or
Yeah.
Jack Parr told you to smoke Chesterfield Kings, or whatever the thing was. And it's the same idea, right? I mean, you insert that product to associate with that entity, and people, the consumer, the viewer says, "Oh, honey, we need a car." Ed Sullivan said we should go look at a Mercury,
Yeah.
Which it's, how's that any different? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
because I think your viewings were very limited then. I mean, you and I remember the days. Channels. Yeah, you remember the days we had 3 channels, and Mom better not run the blender or the vacuum, or you wouldn't get to watch it all. But
you wait all year to watch, Wizard of Oz. You get one shot, right?
Yeah. But now there's millions and millions of things out there. I mean, it's easier, with Top Hill Recording Podcast, which is a music podcast. You're familiar with it. We talk about it all the time. It's easier than ever for a musician to put out their music and have it out there for anybody to hear. But it's harder than ever to get somebody to listen to yours, because there's so many millions of songs going out. And it's the same with all this. There's millions of options, and these algorithms are constantly watching you to see what you're attracted to and feeding you more of that. So this group that likes A is getting a constant stream of A, and constantly being told that your beliefs are right, and this is the reality, and this is the truth. Group B is getting a constant stream of B, and they're believing that everything they believe, because you're getting constant validation and affirmations, like we said earlier. I think that's the big difference in it. You could have, you've got 4 people in your household right now, right? Or 3, I don't know, maybe one's in college, but the same household could be living in totally different realities now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we there are things that we come across, and we'll be sitting down to dinner and we'll be talking about this. And somebody says, "Oh, did you see about this thing at the I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't. I didn't see that. Oh, the videos were this and this happened. And, it sounds, you hear about it. It's interesting. It's, wow, that's amazing. What an amazing physical thing, or what a tragic event. But I'm completely unaware of it. Whereas the other two people have seen 7 different videos of it and from 5 different angles, and they're fully versed of all the parties and who did it and who was involved. So that's, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's one of the things you talked about that I kept seeing come up a lot, and probably, I think this is because where my head is and my knowledge is just talking about this idea of what does the viewer get in this by being part of this community, and or with this validation about, oh, this is you're watching the videos that you like, thousands of other people like this video, we'll give you another one like that, and you'll be more in that community. And there was just some articles I read about talking about how this goes. One article was making the case that it's somewhat evolutionary, that we need to be part of the clan, because the clan is better protected than the individual. And so being part of the thing, being part of the group, keeps you involved and keeps you safe and gives you that sense of safety. And you want to be involved in that. And you sort of get that, the validation, which they trace to the neurotransmitter dopamine. That's why, that's sort of the, if you will, that's the currency of the algorithm. They're validating you by giving you more of what you want, where you feel better, you feel like you belong, and your brain gives out a little dopamine.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably engaging with that video or post or whatever it might be because there is something in there giving you that dopamine hit and making you feel part of that tribe. And what's not happening that I think's happened in the past, there's nothing that's ever going to be thrown your way that's going to challenge that. Unless you seek it out. Because it's all self-imposed. I think that's why, I think people, I don't know, control's not the right. I remember seeing, I watched the documentary one time. I know it seems like I say that every episode. I really enjoy documentaries.
So we do, Brad. Every time we watch documentaries.
Yeah. I was just talking to my parents about that today. My dad loves documentaries too. My mom doesn't. So whenever she's gone and he has a chance to watch television by himself, he watches documentaries. Luckily, Cindy likes documentaries too, probably not as much as me. But anyway, I watched this documentary about early Facebook. And they were talking to Facebook employees. And almost as a rule, these Facebook employees do not let their kids have access to social media, including Facebook.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty telling, isn't it?
And most of them kind of talked about what you were just stating, the biology of it. And I remember one of the guys in there, the gentleman, said, people think they are in control because they're choosing to watch this video, but they're actually being trained. You're actually being trained through this. And your brain is being tuned, I think's what he said.
Wow.
So I think, you hear all the time about polarization and how it seems like everybody's at an extreme now, with politics and whatever it might be, and that's what's rewarded with these algorithms. Yeah. Have you ever heard the term rage engagement?
Well, I was going to bring up this. So the two phrases that were submitted to the Oxford Dictionary for last year and then this year, a year ago, and then most recently, one was brain rot, okay, which gets to your point about the scrolling and watching incessantly. And then this year was rage bait.
Yeah.
So I guess is that the same idea of what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, it's a known fact that, outrage, fear, hate, really any strong emotions, anything that draws strong emotions does better in social media.
Is that true for positive emotions too, though? I mean, we have the proverbial cat videos people like to watch. Is that because they all feel good and it's warm and fuzzy and?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I think there's a lot of fear out there too. But again, it's self-imposed. Like I don't understand the attraction to true crime podcasts and shows at all. I just don't get it. But they are extremely popular.
Yeah, I don't know.
And my own little research, because of some experiences I've had with people close to me, young women like true crime podcast more than any other demographic. And
wow. So do you get a sense? Have you got a sense from your research or experience that it's a sense of power and control? Is it a sense of fear of being a victim, or having been a victim?
You mean that draws someone to want to listen to those?
Where's the fascination? What do they say is the fascination with true crime?
I don't know. I don't think I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's popular. They did a whole, I don't know, did you ever watch the TV show Only Murders in the Building? It was a comedy, but it's a comedy, and they have a podcast, about true crime. So. Yeah.
But I know just in a few instances that I'm familiar with, it's anxiety inducing and fear inducing. It's like I mean, you probably know more than I could say from the biology of the brain, but I kind of describe it as, if you eat healthy food, you're going to be healthier physically and feel better. And if you feed, I kind of believe I don't know if this is true or not, but if you feed your brain healthy things, you're going to be healthier and happier.
Well, I think there's evidence that if you look at this is a big leap, but I think it's in line with what you're saying. When you look at communities and people that live longer, happier, self-reported being happier, healthier lives, one of the biggest things they have is positive social connections with people. They have a friend network. They have people they regularly do things, whether it's walking or going out to dinner or exercise, go to the gym with, or whatever their thing is. Which to me those are things I aspire to have in my life. You want to have those positive experiences to share with people that provide positivity to your life, which makes your life positive.
Yeah.
As far as whether it's longevity or just quality of life,
Yeah. I was just thinking about, would you say that there has been a change in network news from when you were a kid to today?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I often say this to friends of mine. Were we just naive, or were Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather and Sam Donaldson or Peter Jennings, whoever was on ABC, were they really telling us the truth? Were they presenting, hey, these are the facts, folks. This is what happened. these are the facts, or were we just being totally manipulated? Because I think now you can't watch any channel without being manipulated. I mean, it is all about ratings and entertainment, and not news.
Yeah.
You know, there's a really I have it, I think, on my phone at some point. This graphic somebody shared with me, just sort of this continuum of documented bias on the left versus documented bias on the right, and then it had dozens of news media organizations spread across the continuum to say, like, who is, and the two axes were left or right, and then the vertical axis was like known truth accounters, like, you know, how often do they tell the truth? And it was scary how few of these organizations, alleged news organizations, told the truth. I mean, just objectively presented information.
Yeah.
Because it was, they, you know, you can say, oh, well, this channel is this and this channel is that, and I have my own opinions, and I suspect you do too. But the fact is, they've all got an entertainment agenda, which kind of cycles back to your point about what social media algorithms are doing. They want you to stay engaged. They want you to stay on that channel, watching that channel, and they're going to tell you what you want to hear to validate what you think.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And then, and it's catered to you. And so you think everyone believes this. Everyone's saying this.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think news is, you know, they're probably just trying to get the engagement that social media has taken from them.
Oh, I think they are. Absolutely.
I know, and you know, my wife watches the news. You know, I've told you probably several times, but I haven't watched news since 2011. That when you stop watching the news and you look at it, it's ridiculous. It's so obvious to see that it's all about just entertaining whatever this morbid fascination is in humans to just see mayhem and rage and hate. It's just ridiculous when you watch it. And you know, my wife, kind of going along with what you're saying, she knows if she watches something the night before, she knows she's going to have to watch this news channel and see their lean, and watch this news channel and get the opposite lean.
Yeah.
And to her credit, she does that. You know, she does.
Well, that's what I do. When an event, I'm trying to think what happened recently. Something within the past 6 weeks, some major event happened, and I intentionally watched it on, like, you know, whatever, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and PBS, just to see what are people saying about this, and the truth probably lies somewhere in between.
Yeah.
You know.
And then if you watch local news, you know, the first 4 stories are going to be murders, and if there's not any murders in your local town, they're going to go to the statewide. If there's not any state, they're going to go surrounding states, and there's not any surrounding states, they'll go across the country or the world.
Yeah.
You know, just to give you. And gosh, you know, you see evidence of that all the time.
So you asked me the question. What do you feel like in our youth early on that the news was more objective or truthful?
I feel like you probably heard more consistency among networks, and I think it started kind of bending with cable news. You know.
Yeah. So you know, one of the things that I've read is that the tipping point was Reagan's assassination attempt. Like, that's when CNN was coming into prominence, and they just had shows. But when that happened, because for several hours, whether he was going to live or die was in question, that's when they went to the 24-hour news cycle. And then once that happened, that created the model of, we need to be on all the time. Well, what if something's not happening? Well, we'll tell you what's happening, or we'll sensationalize what is happening. which I think gets to your point about, oh, well, if this event occurred and it's just a regular everyday event, we have to make it exciting. We have to sensationalize it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it because it sounds so cynical, I mean, I hate to think about it sometimes because it just really does sound so cynical that it's all about money and manipulation and ad revenue. It's not really about informing the public or, this principle of the press and the role of the press in the democracy. I don't know that that's even remotely true anymore.
Well, I don't think when we were growing up, people decided what we needed to learn to be good citizens, I guess. From our parents to schools to whatever. And you definitely don't get that through social media because the algorithms that are making the decision on what each person watches, there's just no intent behind it other than just to keep you watching.
So do you think there needs... So here's the thing. Was there a role for the government in regulating us and what we saw? And is there a role now for them to do that? Because, I mean, they're not doing it. But I don't know.
It kind of reminds me, this is kind of like... This is starting to feel like some of our previous episodes. There's like an exploration phase.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So now this is, this is social media. It's still, could you say it's relatively new? I guess we could still, or we're still learning what can be done with social media. So there's exploration, and then we talked about with other things like space travel and different things. And then you almost always go through some type of exploitation.
Yeah.
And then there has to be some evidence of harm before there starts being some regulation. And I don't know how this could ever be regulated because people they believe they're choosing what they're watching.
Yeah.
But if you really monitor it, I bet you're almost exclusively watching what's being recommended to you. A lot of people. I'm talking scrollers. I'm talking when you're scrolling. That's different from when you go to YouTube to figure out how to fix your LG washing machine.
Right.
But
it's fascinating to me. My friends that have younger children, when I talk to them, and they say, they don't watch a TV show. They watch YouTube.
Oh, my daughter.
That's all they watch.
Yeah, my daughter watches YouTube exclusively. Now that's
YouTube TV or YouTube
videos.
Channels.
Yeah, YouTube videos. But I mean, she might be a little different situation because that's her business. She's got a YouTube channel of her own, so she's real invested in it. But
was that true? Like 10 years ago? Was she an early adopter of like, hey, this is pretty cool, Dad. I'm not watching, whatever channels are on cable. This is kind of cool. I can watch this on YouTube, and there's this person talking about this, or there's this person. Do you feel like she was an early adopter?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably she is about 30 now, somewhere around there. She might be 30 on the nose. So, I think a lot of that age group, they were kind of brought up on YouTube and early Facebook and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Instagram, I guess.
Yeah. Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat.
One of the things I heard today, one of the things I was listening to a podcast today about algorithms and social media in general. And they talked about how though that age, which I guess are they millennials? I don't know. I'm terrible.
Yeah, I think so.
Categorizing.
Yeah.
Like, they either are or they're approaching 40, and they're not the target audience for the new media now. And they were saying how, they thought they this particular podcast, all the people on it were 40, and they were, I wouldn't say they were traditional, like, media types. I think they saw themselves as sort of the cool kids in media, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But they were saying how now when they interact with their younger coworkers, the younger coworkers think of them as sort of the dinosaurs. They don't get it. They don't get where it is now.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really fascinating, because it's like, that's the nature of technology. The rate of acceleration is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
if any young people listen to this podcast, they're going to probably laugh at our ignorance about what we're talking about here.
Okay, go right ahead. Yeah, exactly.
But I think it definitely. I think there is definitely a movement towards polar extremes by what people are consuming every day on social media. I believe that.
Oh, I think so.
It's kind of it's almost to the point. It's like this may be too extreme of a way to describe it, but it's almost like self-administered or self-imposed propaganda. You're seeing these things over and over and over again until it becomes the reality you live in.
Well, just like you're sort of a self-professed, you're not really much, you're not a news consumer. I am a news consumer, but I'm not a social media person.
Yeah.
I'm very rarely on, like, I don't have Instagram. I don't have TikTok. I have a Facebook page. I'm very rarely on it. I use it for practical, I'm in a bourbon hunters group. There's a guy that I know that runs a trivia night. I feel like going out playing trivia. I'll try to see where he is. But other than that, to me, it's very much a sort of like my newspaper, if you will.
Yeah.
That's something that the young kids will make fun of me. Really, you got a newspaper, Grandpa? No, I don't. By the way.
Yeah. But
just a digital one.
But from knowing you personally, one thing you do is you challenge yourself all the time. You always look at all sides.
I try to.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I liked when we worked together. Is I always knew, no matter where I was on something, I could have a conversation with you, and you could play devil's advocate whether you agreed with me or not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I think the best ideas have to survive. The hits. Those are the good ideas. Because if you just say, "Hey, that's a great idea. Let's just do that," instead of, "Well, maybe we shouldn't do that. We need to have a conversation about why we shouldn't." Then you'll come back to why we should. And there was, I won't say who it was, but there was a person we worked with. There was a book we were reading. It was a group of us. We had a book club, and we were reading. And there's a person in the book club, and I said, "Oh, you want to read this book?" She says, "No, I don't want to. It will challenge my faith, and I don't want to read that book." And that just struck me as so odd, because I thought, I always want my faith to be challenged, because that's my faith. Because if it's not challenged, then I don't know. To me, I know that's a different thing, but I think that's the same idea. I want my ideas to be challenged because I want to believe in my ideas. I want to have confidence in my ideas, and I can't do that unless I continuously challenge them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what, which I guess I'm saying, that's why I'm not a good target for social media. I think your assessment of it is correct. I think it is a rage-based, silo creating, self-validating. Man, this is really coming across as really hateful here, but I think a lot of it is that. You know,
Well, I think it's I think it's just something that is polarizing and divisive.
Yeah.
To extremes, often to radical levels. If you're not if you're not cognizant of it and trying to challenge yourself, it's very easy to get in a feedback loop of nothing but affirmations of what you already know and believe, and validation of what you already know and believe. And I'm not sure. It's definitely not conducive to changing and growing, I don't think.
Yeah, which is just scary to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Now, where it's going to go, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. I mean, I think a good place to start is like we were talking with the Facebook employees. I definitely think we need to make sure young people develop critical thinking skills before full exposure to all these platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have about 19 things. Okay, we need to give a grade. Let's give a grade first. What are we grading? Are we grading the effectiveness of the algorithms, or?
Well, I think if we grade the effectiveness of the algorithms and doing what they're currently intended to do, it had to be an A+.
Yeah, I would agree. Unfortunately,
but right. I think if we're grading the health of, I don't know, civilization, is that the right word? The health of.
Well, I mean, are they conducive? Are the algorithms conducive to enriching?
Yeah,
they enrich society. I'm going to go a pretty a D. No,
I think
D minus
so.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think
not an F.
Yeah, I think D minus or F. And what's going to be interesting to see what happens with it is, people that are scrolling all the time on their favorite platform, they think they're making choices. And and that they're choosing to be in this feedback loop that they're in. Well, I don't think that's true.
Oh, I would agree it's not true. And I used to say it facetiously, and I don't say it as an indictment of our profession or our former colleagues who are still in that profession. I really think that's a key role that schools have to play. Like, I always thought that as a teacher, like especially as a science teacher, you need to look at the evidence before you and decide, not decide and then find the evidence that supports that decision. That's not science. That's not what science does.
Yeah.
And I think schools, and I think that's, you and I both know a lot of good teachers who do that.
Mm-hmm.
Encourage kids to get informed and look at a variety of perspectives and try to make, construct arguments and defend arguments. And I think that's a really important part of what schools need to be doing. Because I think that goes back to, you said earlier about how are we trained, if you will, to be good citizens. I think that's part of it. It's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, it's always been a complex system, and that's just the complexity is just getting to higher and higher levels.
Yeah.
Of just society and schooling and how all these pieces that we're talking about now fit in, and really we don't even know the impact. I mean, I think it's probably, I don't know. Is it accepted that are people having more mental health issues now than ever?
I think so, but I don't know. I think part of that is diagnosis, awareness, and diagnosis. I think that's if you're just looking at the sheer number. I do think people. I mean, it's sad that people don't have a sense of how to get outside and how to talk to people and how to interact with people. Like that's becoming less and less common. And I mean, you remember a lot of this facets of that article I shared with you, I think he was a legislator from Texas.
Yeah.
And he talked about, people need to get out, whether it's get out to their church or to their neighborhood pub or take a walk, get outside and interact with people and talk to one another and find out, just recognize the humanity and sort of celebrate the humanity of others. That's just something that, I remember when Facebook first came out and my sister-in-law was such a huge proponent and was just going on and on about it. It's just such a wonderful social network. And I said, yeah, I kind of think it's an asocial network.
Yeah.
I think you go on there and you act like you're talking to people, and you are to a certain extent, but you're really not. You're not talking to people. You're clicking on icons and, I don't know. I know that makes me sound like an old man, but maybe I am.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, I was thinking as you talked about getting out and getting in churches and pubs and different places, and, you're talking about experiencing your life, and you can make decisions on how things are and how you're, in your world, in the world right now, based on that. And instead of based on these things that oftentimes are intentionally trying to just invoke rage and fear and hate.
Right. Because you're team A and I'm team B, therefore we can't agree on anything.
How many times do you hear, gosh, the world's falling apart, crime's worse than ever. And if you look at statistics, it's just not true.
Right.
Right. I said, but if you're believing what you see on the news every night, and you're not believing what's happening in your neighborhood and what you're seeing in your world, and you accept what you're seeing on the news every night, you're going to believe that. It's just not true.
Yeah,
crime's gone down consistently since, I don't know if, I hate to say that, like the 80s or 90s or something. It's been a long time going down.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, what we got?
Okay, we got a laundry list. Okay, a couple things. We talked about, how do you deal with contrary opinions? What's advertising doing? Where are musicians in terms of production and options? I thought that was interesting. The Olympics, we talked about falling into tribes. How do you deal with challenges? What's quality of life? The role of the government in terms of regulation or supporting, the cycle, sort of the general cycles of exploration, and then what is this? Technical notes. Oh, I can't even remember. Technical notes of change. I don't know what that's about. And then one other thing you talked about, which I like, you talked about I think you said your grandpa said, you got to get out and find people that disagree. How do you handle contrary opinions? I thought that was, I think that's a good question.
Yeah.
So,
you got one that stands out to you?
I like this conversation, but I don't like it. The political aspect of it is, what is the role of government? That's something for me is I wrestle with a lot and try to figure out. But it's hard to have that conversation and not get political or ridiculously political. And I'm not really knowledgeable enough, and I don't really want to get into a political conversation.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily one.
The role
quality of life and longevity. I like that. I really like that. I don't think, like, people say, I want to live to be 100 and whatever. I don't know that I do, honestly.
Yeah.
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 I kind of want to live. I'd rather live a good life to 80 than an okay life to 110.
Yeah. But what is quality life at 90? It might be different than you at 60.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could go with that.
I don't know.
The other one that stood out to me was, we talked about music, and I was thinking about last week and this is a conversation I've had with a few people recently, is music and AI. How's artificial intelligence going to impact songwriters and musicians?
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of talk in my household about that one. Because, my son has a music degree and he is not a fan of AI. So,
because my last, I'll exchange music with my parents, and over the last couple of weeks, my dad has sent me 2 blues songs, and I'm like, man, that is good. And that guy's voice, I can't believe that. So I looked it up to see who it was, and I can't find it anywhere. It was an AI song.
Wow. Yeah. So do you know the band Radiohead?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a fan of Radiohead?
I wouldn't say a fan, but
you're aware.
I don't change radio. I don't change the radio station if it comes on.
Say, come on, yeah.
Yeah.
So my younger son, he's a fan, and my older son, he's okay, but not. He doesn't. I don't know. I think he thinks they're a little too celebrated, and so I was listening to my younger son and I were listening to some podcast about them, and they were just talking about their structure and what they do with music, and we got into this conversation about, well, is that music anymore? Like, the idea of does music have to be a human playing an instrument, and then how does one define an instrument? Is a digital keyboard, a computer keyboard, is that an instrument?
Yeah.
Then, or do they have to pluck a string or, move a reed or whatever? What constitutes an instrument? So I don't know. I mean, you know a lot more about music and production and making music than I do, but I'm good with that. If you want to go down that path.
Well, you can go to one of these AI music platforms, and you can tell it, generate a song about a podcast called The Tangent Gentleman in the style of Taylor Swift with Jimi Hendrix playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And you get it, a full song.
So, this person, Brian Quillen, I can tell this story. I'm sure he won't mind. When AI was first coming around and we were talking, he said, I'm going to have AI write a song in the style of Bruce Springsteen about squirrels. and then he played it for me.
And it was probably very passable, wasn't it? It was probably, you could probably pass it as a Bruce Springsteen.
Awful.
Was it?
No, it was awful.
Well, it's better now, I bet.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago. But I'm sure AI would write a great Springsteen squirrel song. But anyway, but no, it's okay. Let's do that. I like that. Like, right. What's our question? I want to go that route. Like, what is
how's AI going to impact the music industry? Would that be good? Or do you want to just leave it at music and AI? Or
I guess I want to take it back a little bit more to the idea of music. This question about what do we consider, who and what can generate music? Because I'm fine with the AI angle, but I also like the idea, like, I need to personally come, because where I left it with my son was, if all that Tom York and Radiohead does is type on a computer keyboard, which then goes into this device that modifies or either simulates traditional musical instruments or modifies that musical instrument, I don't know if I call that music.
Okay.
So and that let me just throw this in. No, I'll save it because it's a great quote from a pretty famous musician about this. Not this specifically, but so okay.
So does music have to be performed by a human musician on a tangible instrument?
Okay. What does it mean
to
make
music? Yeah.
What does it mean to make music?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good. I like that one. That'll be fun. You will be the expert, being the musician / music podcast.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you. Hope we didn't embarrass ourselves too much for a bunch of boomers.
Hey, I'm Gen X by a year, 2 years.
Sorry. All right. See you later.
See you.